Welcome to the live stream. Going to be talking about Trump and North Korea mostly, but I will take your questions. I'll talk a little bit more about the upcoming vacation. There's sort of a lot of different stuff going on with the David Pakman show. I talked yesterday a little bit about the lawsuit threat that we received, and I can answer. I talked about it more on today's broadcast program, and that clip will be going live a little bit later. But I will. I'm glad to answer questions on that. If they're sort of general, and I know that I could say anything I want, but I'm trying to manage this in a particular way to hopefully make it go away sooner than later rather than make it into a bigger thing, but it's sort of a reality that we're dealing with. So I'll talk about all of that stuff, and we will hopefully get some super chat questions from people. A couple people saying my volume is low. Let's see, I'll turn it up a little bit. Is that any better? I don't know. I haven't changed anything since the other day. So I'll get into Trump North Korea shortly because that's really the main thing I want to focus on. News breaking just in the last few minutes about it. I will welcome you if this is your first live stream with me. Welcome. It is the broadcast program is not live. We record it and then clips go up on YouTube, and of course members get the full video by 4 p.m. Eastern. But this is really the primary live format that we now have, and as a result you can ask me questions or you can ask for comment on issues that are of importance to you. The best way to do that is using the super chat function. That's the dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat window. If you have questions, I will read them and respond. If you have comments, I will read them and give my reaction. And of course, as we always do, if you sign up and support the work that we're doing as an independent media outlet, new members and patrons both get live thank yous and shout outs during the stream. I'll announce our patron target for the stream shortly. Please don't troll. Trolling and hate will get you banned. Obvious trolling and hate will get you banned. Every once in a while, someone is incorrectly banned. And if that's the case, please get in touch by email. We did have someone, a regular super chatter who was inadvertently or incorrectly banned, and I have unbanned them, and I will make sure that that happens if it is warranted. But please, no obvious trolling or hate, because you will be banned by one of the moderators. I am going to jump into the bulk of the subject matter in a second, just as a heads up. Today's patron challenge is really easy. We're starting at 1,889 patrons today. I'm just looking for 11 more patrons during the live stream. If we get to 1,900, which will be a record high for the history of the 5 months that we've been doing Patreon, I'll cook up a very special membership discount code for you. We only are looking for 1,900. We should be able to do just 11 new patrons at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. So feel free to, there's already super chats coming in. Let me talk about Trump North Korea, and then I will deal with super chats, and there will be plenty of time for everything. So if you've not heard the latest news, I've been worried about an escalation with North Korea by Donald Trump for a while now, and it seems like it might escalate even more quickly than I anticipated. And I've been anticipating it for a while, mostly because of the desperation of Donald Trump. Things have not fundamentally changed over in North Korea. It's bad. You've got a extremist dictator who is sitting on nuclear material and looking to develop a more advanced nuclear weapons program. And although there have been some developments in that area, it's really Trump's desperation to take attention away from the endless scandals and the embarrassing failures of his administration that have been making me worried about what is he going to do in North Korea or Syria or Iran. But really North Korea is the one I've been talking about more. And Donald Trump is now directly threatened with North Korea. I will play the video on the program tomorrow on the broadcast show, but he is threatening North Korea. The video's out there with what is called, he is calling fire and fury. And he's also sort of shockingly saying it will be fire and fury that the world has never seen before. What does that mean? We've dropped nukes on Japan twice. What exactly is Donald Trump alluding to that would be fire and fury and force, the words that he used, the likes of which the world has never seen before? That's odd and concerning to me. And we have a particularly concerning situation in North Korea because with Barack Obama was not going to get wrapped into this sort of alpha male-esque escalation of words with Kim Jong-un. George W. Bush North Korea didn't have oil that we wanted, so even George W. Bush wasn't going to get sucked into that. But this is genuinely a danger because you've got two megalomaniacs escalating with each other. And there's actually many similarities between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un, most notably that neither seems to have anybody around them that can talk any sense into them when it comes to public statements that they may not want to make, public actions that they may not want to take. It would be great if someone was running interference. It appears that nobody can, and this is why, now we have direct threats from the President of the United States and the leader of North Korea. And when I quickly saw the headline an hour ago, North Korea, fire and fury. I assumed it was a North Korean official talking about threatening the United States with fire and fury, not the President of the United States threatening North Korea with fire and fury. And this is separate from whether military action would or wouldn't be justified in North Korea and whether it could be done in a way to avoid civilian casualties. I've said many times I don't think that there could be. That's a separate question from whether this is rhetoric becoming of an American president, and I believe that it is not. I believe it is abundantly clear that this is not rhetoric becoming of an American president, and we're going to dig in. We'll have the video on tomorrow's program. We will have a discussion on tomorrow's program. But one of the main questions that I think is important to think about here is, what does North Korea want? In other words, why is North Korea, is it merely that North Korea is feeling taunted by Donald Trump or pushed or pressed by Donald Trump and thus they're reacting belligerently? Or is there some sort of coherent narrative or wants that North Korea has? And I think that that's an interesting conversation to have. So I'll give you a few of my thoughts about this and then we'll talk about it more on tomorrow's program. Megalomania aside, right? Does Kim Jong-un, we've seen historically sometimes when the famine gets particularly bad in North Korea, of course famine that North Korean officials deny exists, but clearly does. When the famine gets particularly bad in North Korea, we've seen North Korea become increasingly public with these missile tests, and then they will agree to back off of the tests, albeit temporarily, in exchange for food aid. But I think that there's more to that, or rather, I think that there's more to it than the trying to draw out food aid. When we look at the history of American foreign policy, you could imagine why Kim Jong-un might feel the acute desire to more quickly develop nuclear weapons. Even when Muammar Gaddafi in Libya agreed to stop his nuclear weapons research program, whatever you want to call it, the US still went in and took him out. So if you're Kim Jong-un, you're probably thinking, I'm better off with nuclear weapons than without them so that they don't take me out. And there's probably a number of instances we can look at around the world that support that. Look at China, right? The US and other Western countries, although we complain and condemn the human rights abuses in China, we allow them, and China has nukes. Look at Ukraine. Ukraine legitimately had nuclear weapons after the fall of the Soviet Union, and as a result of the Budapest Memorandum on Security Assurances, Ukraine got rid of those nuclear weapons, and we see what has happened in Ukraine since. Compare that to Russia, which has not given up their nukes and is in a very different situation, at least in that region of the world. And in the background of this is probably Kim Jong-un's desire for a unified Korea. This is something that when you watch documentaries of people who have gone to North Korea, you see that the North Korean officials are constantly parroting this propaganda about reunification is coming soon. North and South Korea will be reunified into one Korea. And of course, it's incredibly unlikely that that's going to happen. If there were to be a reunification, it would probably require North Korea going to war with South Korea and winning, not a war that North Korea could actually win right now. So that would maybe be another reason in the sort of, if we believe that Kim Jong-un is truly delusional and psychopathic rather than just, calculatedly bonkers to keep people off guard, he may believe that nuclear weapons might be a path towards reunification with South Korea. As nutty as he is, he probably realizes he is unlikely to win a war against South Korea, but maybe having nukes shifts the balance in some way. And also consider the advantages to North Korea of having nukes in terms of internal spending. North Korea currently spends 25% of its GDP on its own military. If they had nukes, they might feel that that is a deterrent to outside intervention in North Korea. And maybe that would make the Kim Jong-un regime comfortable shifting some money away from the military and towards who knows what else. Would it actually be a shifting of money that's good for the people? Probably not. Probably not, but it would at least allow some flexibility when it comes to the finances of North Korea. So I think that there are many reasons why, and it's sort of, I don't know exactly what the words to use. If you are Kim Jong-un and you already sort of concede the absurd idea of fighting for reunification for South Korea as if it's days away from happening, which of course it's not. If you put yourself in the mindset of a Kim Jong-un that is partially delusional and partially drunk off of power, it actually makes a lot of sense why right now he would be trying to develop a nuclear weapons program. And believe me, I am one of the biggest critics of North Korea. I am not defending North Korea in any way, but what I am saying is that if you consider the circumstances, then it's sort of, we can easily imagine why it is that Kim Jong-un would be pursuing nuclear weapons the way that he is. Okay, let's get to some of the super chats. Jerry Cifuentes has sent a $20 super chat with no question or comment. I appreciate that, Jerry. Thank you very much. Clarth1234 has sent a $5 Australian super chat. Is Louis Motamedi aware that his new show has a subreddit? The Louis Motamedi show has been gone for almost an entire year, and we miss him greatly. I don't know what you're talking about. There's a Reddit for the non-existent Louis Motamedi show. Let me pull this up. There is, yeah. There are 6 readers. And I guess it's a bunch of links to Louis-related clips. Louis, of course, the former producer of the David Pakman Show. You know, it's so crazy. Our audience has grown so much over the last 10 months or so that Louis has been gone, that we now have, I would estimate, 40% of our audience to 50% of our audience that is not even aware of who former producer Louis is, which is incredible. It's not an insult to Louis. It's just an incredible testament to how much our audience has grown over the last 10 months. Patrick Ferreira has sent a $10 Canadian super chat. Hey, David, keep up the great work on the show. Keep your chin up. Getting hit with legal action during the adpocalypse is bad timing, but you will find a way through it. Well, thank you, Patrick. Yeah, we are trying to secure some kind of pro bono legal representation because we have been threatened with a lawsuit and sent a demand letter for many, many, many thousands of dollars. And I don't want to go too far into the details, but let me say it's not good. It's not a good situation. And I hope that you're right, Patrick, and that it's something that we'll be able to get past and just kind of go onwards and upwards. And of course, we are dealing with the YouTube ad boycott. Revenue is down 85% on YouTube as a result of changes that were made to the YouTube ad algorithm. And it's disappointing because we started the year off so strong, as you can see in this revenue graph. And we were on track for like the biggest year ever. We were going to be doing a bunch of hiring. We were going to be doing all sorts of expansion. And that's had to be put on the back burner because now we're just sort of trying to recover the lost revenue. And we are at the end of this graph, which is not down 99% as we were in early April, but down about 85%. And on that note, I already am seeing people signing up for membership, and I want to thank them. I do try during these live streams. Anybody who gets a membership or donates on Patreon, I will say thank you to and recognize everybody because it is really important to me that every single person who is supporting our program, whether it's through Super Chat or membership or Patreon, be recognized because it is a big deal. You're going out of your way. You could just watch the stream and watch our clips and not think about it, but people go out of their way to say, I'm going to actually contribute financially to what's going on here. And on that note, Joshua Von Barris has signed up at davidpakman.com/membership, as has Lolita Meyer. and Michael Marchand, all of whom have signed up at davidpakman.com/membership. I mentioned this earlier. I'll mention it once more. I like to do targets for Patreon fundraising during the live streams. The target today is a gimme because I only have at most an hour for this live stream today. I want to set a reasonable target. We're only looking for 11 new patrons, and when we get to that 1,900, which would, by the way, set a record for us for patrons. We've never had 1,900 patrons at any point. If we get to 1,900 patrons, I will create and announce to you a North Korea-related membership coupon code, which will be a major savings for you, okay? So you can just throw in $1 or $2, you will get a thank you from me, and I'll come back to that later, and hopefully we'll hit 1,900, and I'll set up that great coupon code for you. Let's go back to the Super Chat, because a lot of questions are coming in here. Jennifer Carrain has sent a $20 Super Chat. Do you think this could be similar to the Cuban Missile Crisis? The military wanted to bomb and invade Cuba, but the president didn't listen. Do you think that good men will prevail? Well, it would be sort of the opposite maybe in this case, where the military may not want to go into North Korea, and Donald Trump may be the one who has the impetus to do so because of the rampant scandals and embarrassing failures that have become a daily constant of the Trump administration. I mean, case in point, I'll get back in a second to the Super Chats, but it has now leaked that Donald Trump twice a day, it would be bad enough if it was once a day, but twice a day, Donald Trump is getting from the White House communications team a folder of positive news about him, and it's all printed. And we've heard about how Donald Trump is very sort of like on paper visual. He's not really a tech guy, which is probably why he seemed so impressed by his 11-year-old son's technical proficiency with computers, Barron Trump, as he mentioned during a debate. He gets what's colloquially known within the Trump White House as the propaganda document, and it's basically printouts of tweets. Can you imagine printing tweets? I mean, sometimes we forget we're dealing with a 71-year-old man who was born in the lap of luxury, but printing tweets? Anyway, he gets printed tweets, transcripts of TV interviews where people say nice things about him, sometimes pictures of him on TV. Like, it's basically, you take a screenshot of TV and you print that, and then you bring it to Trump when he looks, presidential or whatever the case may be. It is the epitome of the special snowflake safe space stuff that Trump claims to be against. So I don't know whether, quote, good men and women will prevail, Jennifer, but I hope so. DJ has sent a $2 super chat. Love the show. Hope this and Patreon pledge helps. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate your support, and I'll do the Patreon thank yous upcoming. Clarth1234 has sent a $2 Australian super chat. Pat live stream when? Can't kill the Keurig King. Yes, I don't know when Pat is going to be doing live streams. Pat has not expressed an interest in doing live streams, and I don't know what the deal is with that, but it's certainly a conversation. We've got a lot of things going on at the David Pakman Show, and I think that there will be no shortage of opportunities for all sorts of live streaming and questions from Pat to be answered. And by the way, if you do have specific questions for Pat, one of the best ways to get those questions in is in the audience questions segment, which we do on Fridays. We take 3 questions from the audience, and they can basically, everything's on the table. You got to email them in though, okay? You go to davidpakman.com and you email in those questions. Clarth1234 has sent another super chat for $5. David, when did you get rebranded by everyone from progressive and left-wing to a somewhat left-leaning moderate centrist? What changed? I didn't know anything changed. When was I rebranded from First of all, who's everyone? And when, I don't know who has rebranded me in this way or where there is evidence of this rebranding. From progressive and left-wing to a somewhat left-leaning moderate centrist. I can't think of any issues on which I am a moderate centrist. I'm trying to even think about that. I don't know. Listen, Clarth, I really don't know. But if anybody has, if you can either point to an issue on which I am a moderate centrist or send me a link, I guess, to where I've been labeled in this way, I will look into it. But I don't know I don't know. I'm sort of at a loss for words there, Clarth. Repentant Gamer has sent a $5 super chat. I would like to see Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump just engage in personal combat instead, so no one in Asia or the U.S. has to die for them. Yeah, I'm not totally against that, Repentant Gamer, because there's every indication that what we're seeing right now between Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump is basically the equivalent of a penis size contest, sort of a diplomatic penis size contest, or megalomaniacs fighting each other. So I actually think that maybe just a physical fight between the two of them would be okay. Now, of course, Kim Jong-un is quite young. I think he's like in his early 30s. Donald Trump's a 71-year-old man who is probably bordering on being medically considered obese. So I don't know if that would be a fair fight, but I think conceptually you're sort of thinking along the right lines. Okay, I'm being told that there are threads on our Reddit discussion forum arguing that I am now a moderate centrist. But I'm looking and I'm not seeing that. Pacman's wrong about Venezuela, but that doesn't really make me a moderate centrist. I'm not seeing it, but by all means, I'm interested in exploring that. Okay, let me do a couple thank yous here. Okay, first, membership. I don't want to fall behind. Membership is the #1 funding source for the show. The member benefits are bigly important and tremendous. And we have a coupon code which will save you 40%. That's I voted 17. I want to say thanks to Doug Roberts, who has just signed up using the coupon code at davidpacman.com/membership. I also want to say thank you to Bjorn Gretarsson. Bjorn Gretarsson. I feel like I always mangle the Scandinavian and Northern European names, but I'm doing the best I can. And on Patreon, we have inched one closer to our goal of 1,900 patrons, which would be major for us because Dixit Alam has pledged or maybe it's Dixit Alam, has pledged $2 a month at patreon.com/David Pacman Show. We started at 1,889 patrons. We are now at 1,890. And today's goal is 1,900, which would just be major. I mean, we've not, last month, I think we finished at, what was it? I think low 1,800s. And we're now on only the 8th day of August, closing in on 1,900, which would be major. So tonight's goal is 1,900. It'll trigger a membership discount. And of course, the eventual goal is 2,000. And when we reach 2,000 patrons, I'll be doing an entire broadcast program from our studio with my hair like this. And this is not some funny thing I had to go out of my way to do. This is just what happens because of my thick Semitic hair when I don't sort of put it under control with product. And this will be scary to a lot of people, but I've committed to doing that if we get to 2,000 patrons. So if that's something you're interested in, you know what to do, but 1,900 is today's goal. Okay, we've got a couple other super chats here I want to get to. Hobbitten has sent a £2 super chat. Where's my lunch? Okay, very, very good. BTG has sent a $5 super chat. Google Eric Schneiderman and his investigation into the Trump Organization and Trump Modeling Company in New York. He is the key to Mueller's investigation if Trump fires Mueller. I will look into that. I have not heard of that, but I will absolutely look into that. For people in the chat saying that when my hair has product in it, it is a hard shell. It is not. I am using a product which... They're not an advertiser, so I won't tell you exactly what product it is, although I might have let it slip in the past. It is not rock hard at all. It is completely soft and flaccid hair. That I can assure you. Ryan Couture has sent a $2 super chat. What's your reaction to Cenk versus Ben Shapiro? You know, I only watched like 10 minutes of each of a handful of those Politicon debates. I watched a little bit of Hassan Pikers, who is Cenk's, I believe it's his nephew. I met him a couple years ago in New York City. I watched a little bit of Cenk versus Ben Shapiro. I watched a little bit of Ann Coulter versus Anna Kasparian. I have to tell you, without making, I'm not being critical of the individuals here. I was not hugely entertained by those debates. I did not find them as interesting as I was maybe anticipating finding them. But you know, people have been asking me, who do I think won the debate? between Cenk and Ben Shapiro, and it's not clear to me. It's not really clear to me. Jacob Ball has sent a $5 super chat. I believe many on the more extreme side of the regressive left view you as being moderate. You may be right, Jacob, and you know what? I try not to get involved in that nonsense. I think that while it is true that my views sort of like in the context of South American leftism, I probably would be more of a moderate. But by any measure in the United States, I don't know how you say I'm a sort of moderate centrist. Robert Aaron has sent a $2 super chat. Can you talk about the Defend Europe mission? You know, I have some articles about the Defend Europe mission bookmarked. It's not a movement I've familiarized myself with thus far, and I will comment on that once I'm ready. But I will, Robert, I'll move those articles to the top of my list just for you. Repentant Gamer has sent another super chat, this time $2. Did you hear moderate Malaysia attacking atheists? I did hear about that, and I have that story bookmarked as a possible story for tomorrow. And I do look forward to talking about that. And in fact, I just came across, and I want to just flag it before I forget, Malaysia, where is that article? Malaysia atheists. I just came across it. Atheists in Malaysia should be hunted down, minister says. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that up because I don't want to forget about that second article as well. Okay, I've got a few more thank yous that I want to do because the memberships continue coming in. Membership is the #1 funding source for our program, along with Patreon, and we have a number of new members who have signed up just while we've been chatting here. It's amazing. Brian Mays and Gerald Wyatt, as well as Corey Feldman. That is fascinating. We've got a new member named Corey Feldman. Now, Corey is not spelled with a C. I believe that the famous actor spells Corey with a C. But this is Corey with a K. But Corey Feldman, welcome to the David Pakman Show membership program. And also Julia Gonzalez. Julia Gonzalez, thank you very much for signing up for membership. All new members will get thank yous from me during the stream. And we've got a new patron. I want to send a major thank you to Stephen Murray. Stephen Murray has just pledged $2 a month. $2 a month at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. What I love about Patreon is every single patron counts as one patron. It doesn't matter how much you contribute. If you throw in $1 a month or $2 a month or $5 or $10, or as a couple people are doing, I think we've got one person currently who's at the $100 a month level. Let me see. No, we've got 4 patrons currently at the $100 a month level. Nobody yet at the $250 a month level. Whether it's $50 a month, like the 5 of you that are pledging $50 a month, whether it's $25 a month and 35 of you are at that level, whether it's at $10 a month and there's 135 patrons at that level, and even if it's $1 a month where we have many, many hundreds of patrons, everybody counts towards the target of 1,900, which will trigger a huge membership program special. So let's do it. Let's just get to the 1,900 and get that over with. A lot more questions coming in today via Super Chat. Tina Howard. Tina Howard sent a $5 Super Chat. Hi, David. Is the music used on your show for intro, outro, and segues original compositions? If you mean original in the sense that it was produced music for our show, the answer is no. But a musician who goes by the name of Kurtley J. Has produced all of those songs, and you can actually find his entire repertoire if you go to soundcloud.com/Kurtley-J. That's CURTLY-JAY. You can check out his entire repertoire, and we have used a few of those songs. And you know, some people love the music on the show, some people hate the music on the show, but it's grown on a lot of people, and I think that that's a wonderful thing. Cold War 45 has sent a $10 super chat. Did you see that North Korea is now considering a nuclear strike on Guam? Yeah, I saw some comments from some official in North Korea about Guam. And they do indeed have the capability of reaching Guam. So that is something that I would be concerned about. Showtime 8D7 has sent a $19.84 super chat, maybe in honor of my birth year of 1984, maybe in honor of the book by George Orwell, 1984, I'm not sure. Hey, Pack fans, let's get David on the Joe Rogan podcast. Everybody politely tweet Joe. Thanks for all the great content, David. Yeah, it would be a huge boon for the show if I were to be on the Joe Rogan podcast. And that would be so worthwhile that I will fly out to LA to be on Joe Rogan's podcast, because it would be huge, huge, huge for the program. And I cannot even imagine the amount of attention that would get us. I've heard that Joe Rogan sometimes gets annoyed from people suggesting guests, but it's like, how else does he hear about people that might be good guests? So I think if you're going to be polite about it, I think that this is a great idea, and I appreciate Showtime using a super chat to get that message to us. Ice Pepsi has sent a 20 Swedish kroner super chat. Would you like to visit Sweden? What would you do? I would love to visit Sweden. I am considering trying to get to Sweden sometime during maybe the next 18 months. And I would absolutely like to check out some of the larger cities, certainly Stockholm and Gothenburg, but I would also love to check out some small towns in Sweden. I find some of the best and most interesting and most rewarding trips I've had to different parts of the world have actually been to small towns, not the well-known big cities. And I would take recommendations from our Swedish audience about what it is that I should do when I visit Sweden. Ryan Couture has sent a $5 super chat. Do you think a global economic collapse is near with Trump? Well, we talked about how the dollar has collapsed under Trump, although the stock market has done quite well. I don't know that. Listen, I've said for a while that I believe the biggest risk with Trump is that he will do something outrageous when it comes to a military action against another country. We're talking today a lot about North Korea. I think that's still the prime target. That could hugely destabilize the global economy, and that is a concern. Is Trump's proposed wall with Mexico, which is, by the way, not even being discussed at this point, or sort of more domestic policy, is that going to be potentially collapsing the global economy? I would say probably not. Clarth1234 with a $5 Australian super chat, going back to the Spanish super chats. I love it. He says, and I will translate for you, en una nota positiva, conseguir demandado es que significa que usted lo hizo. ¿Tiene algún interés en los segmentos de consejos de citas? Okay, so let me just address the first part, which is, on a positive note, receiving a demand letter from a law firm, which we did, means that you have made it. Now, this is I'm wondering if this was Google translated, because these are sort of like literal translations of phrases in English that just don't translate literally to Spanish. So my guess is that this was Google translated directly from English. But yeah, a couple people have said that to me, Clarth, which is, once the lawyers start threatening lawsuits against you and demanding thousands of dollars, it means that you made it. The problem is, we don't really have thousands of dollars to spare because of the YouTube advertiser boycott. So it is not a good time to have anyone demand thousands of dollars from us. We have a couple more patrons that I want to thank before I move on. We started the evening at 1,889 patrons. We're trying to get to 1,900 tonight. Simon Winheld has pledged $1 a month, and Frank Bucalo has pledged $5 a month, both of which I very, very much appreciate. And that puts our total number of patrons this evening at 1,893. We have only 7 patrons to go before I will create and trigger a North Korean related membership discount code. So 7 more $1 donations will trigger it. Let's make that happen. Dylan Collett has sent a $5 super chat. How do you push back against the notion, coming from extreme libertarians or conservatives, that taxation is theft and therefore it is immoral or unjustified? Okay, so there's this is a very good question, Dylan, and I'm gonna address this a couple different ways. You can sort of have a much more general discussion about taxation being theft, and there are some ways to sort of push back against that or debunk that in some way. But I think there's a few main points that you can make, which are you don't have to pay taxes because you don't have to work and you don't have to live in the United States, right? So number one, if you are in the United States, you either chose to move to the U.S. as an adult, or you were moved to the U.S. as a kid because your parents moved to the U.S., or you were born in the U.S. because your parents decided to birth you in the United States. When you're under 18, you are legally not an adult, and your parents do have the right to make that decision for you. If you have moved to the U.S. by choice as an adult, you are accepting the way that the United States works in so moving, and thus you are tacitly saying, I'm going to pay taxes, and it's not theft because I have the option of not coming to the United States. If you're already in the U.S., you can avoid taxes by not working. If you don't work, you don't pay taxes. Now, you might say, well, I can't figure out how to live. That's sort of your problem. But the question is taxation theft or slavery? And because you have the option not to pay taxes by not working, that certainly debunks that notion. And further, you can move to another country. If you don't like the way that in the United States when you work you have to pay taxes, you can move to another country. Now you might say, and rightly so, but David, if I move to another country, I'd still have to pay their taxes. And it might be a higher tax rate, it might be a lower tax rate. Well, but that's not a criticism of the United States then. If you can't find a country where you can work without paying taxes, then maybe that's an indicator that you kind of need taxes. But if you don't want to pay taxes in the United States, you can look at moving to other countries. So the idea that taxation is theft from the extreme libertarians I find to be absolutely and completely bogus. And it's basically nonsense. I don't know how else to describe it. JHWH Gadol has sent a €5 super chat. By now, can we say that that still committed Trumpists are suffering from Orwellian doublethink or are just plain delusional? More or less, yeah. I mean, at this point, if you still support Trump, and it's shocking to me that between 33 and 38% of Americans support the job, approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing. I think that you're so ideologically committed to Trump because you supported him that you are sort of deliberately blinding yourself from the realities of what it is that he's doing or not doing, or you just are ignorant and don't understand what's going on. I think that that's a pretty good summary. Okay, Clarth1234 with another Spanish super chat, this one for $5 Australian. This one seems to be some kind of a rhyme. Tengo un tío cajonero que hace cajas y calajas y cajitas y cajones, y al tirar de los cordones salen cajas y calajas y cajitas y cajones. Spanish segment. Okay, so this is a tongue twister. Translated literally, it means that he has an uncle who makes drawers and boxes and little boxes and drawers, and when you pull on the strings in the boxes and the drawers, it's just a tongue twister, and I don't know what it's doing for us. But I appreciate the support. Clarth. Thank you very much. Okay, let me do a couple other Patreon thank yous, or just one other, I suppose. Devin Murray. Devin Murray has pledged $2 a month at patreon.com/David Pakman Show, which gets us even closer to our target of 1,900 patrons. We started with 1,889 tonight. I said we want to get to 1,900. We are at 1,894. We have 6 patrons to go and about 25 minutes to go in this live stream. I also want to send a thank you to Simon Winheld, who has edited their pledge on Patreon from $1 a month to $2 a month. That doesn't change the number of patrons, but it does get us closer. But it does increase the total monthly amount that we are receiving via Patreon pledges. So that is very much appreciated. And on the membership side, we've got people continuing to use the coupon code IVoted17 to save 40%. We've got Peter Chernosky as well as Shauna Hicks, both of whom have signed up at davidpakman.com/membership using the coupon code I voted 17 for a 40% discount. Thank you very much. That is really, really great. And let's get to the 1,900 patrons before the end of the night. I think that that would be fantastic. I mentioned this, and I'm going to mention it again because I don't want people to think we're going off the air. The David Pakman Show is going on vacation at the end of this broadcast week. And every time we do this, it doesn't matter how many times I remind people, we're not going off the air. We are just going on vacation. The emails start pouring in. The tweets start pouring in. Is the David Pakman Show over? Have you gone off the air? Did the YouTube adpocalypse destroy the program? We are going on a planned vacation, our summer break, and we have a whole bunch of extra content that has not yet been released on YouTube that we will be putting out on YouTube throughout the vacation. And we've got 4 long-form video pieces, one on socialism, one on voter suppression, one on classical liberalism, and one on violence among the left, supposed violence among the left. And all of those long-form pieces will be going live on our YouTube channel during the vacation. So yes, we will not be able to directly react to the breaking news of the day. If there is major breaking news during the vacation, I will have my trusty microphone with me as well as my HD webcam, and I will be able to do a live stream if it comes to that. But we will be on vacation, and the show is not going off the air. Don't worry about that. And, you know, it's kind of funny to me because if the show were going to go off the air and it wasn't like an overnight thing that happens where the show gets pulled off the air for some reason and off YouTube and off podcast and everything, I would be announcing that for a long time. The show has been going on for years, and at this point, if the show were to just disappear and end, you would know, because there would be endless... Listen, as much as I've talked about the YouTube advertiser boycott and Patreon and membership and the lawsuit that we're being threatened with, if the show was ending, I would announce that to you. I would tell you that the program is going off the air, so it wouldn't just disappear willy-nilly from one day to the next. Okay. Let me check out what we've got in the non-super chat, because I do want to make an effort to get in there and answer some other questions from things that are being said there. Not everybody can afford super chat. David, record some vlogs on vacation. Whoever still supports Trump should be on stronger medications. Do you consider yourself a socialist? No, I don't. I consider myself an advocate of social democracy in the context of well-regulated capitalism, not too different from many aspects of Scandinavian countries. But I do not consider myself a socialist. Some people talking about Dave Rubin is great. Other people talking about Dave Rubin is not great. Questions about... is that Eastern time? I don't know if that's to me or not, but the stream started at 7 p.m. Eastern time. It will end at roughly 8 p.m. Eastern time. And hopefully by then we will be up to 1,900 patrons. That's the target there. What season is the David Pakman Show up to now? You know, we don't really do the season thing, and this is a crazy, crazy thing. And I'm glad that this was mentioned in the chat by Clarth1234. There are lots of shows that have seasons where they do a few months of episodes, and then the season's over, and there's no episodes for months. And sometimes we take heat when we do vacations. I've made it very clear that I think it's important to take vacation. It's good to take breaks from everything that's going on politically and from work more generally. And we go year round, right? Like, we'll take vacations throughout the year, but we don't say, hey, the season is over and we'll talk to you in a few months. We don't do that. And we do, I don't remember what number of episodes it is per year, but it is way more than most programs do. I can tell you that for sure. For sure, folks, believe me. Okay, some people saying David is not a moderate centrist. Others saying David is a moderate centrist. I don't believe that I am a moderate centrist. People talking about Kamala Harris 2020, Tulsi Gabbard 2020. I believe we got to be talking about 2018, not 2020. 2020 is too far away to be talking about. And on that note, Joseph Amen has sent a $5 super chat saying, David, who would be your ideal presidential candidate for 2020? Listen, Joseph, I very much appreciate the super chat support, but I am not dealing with 2020 candidates at this point. because I believe that Democrats and progressives need to be laser focused on the 2018 election. What I do know is that when I hear that elite Democratic donors are pouring money into Kamala Harris's possible 2020 run 3 years early, I'm scared, because Democratic donors getting excited about a Democrat 3 years before the election is exactly how we got into this mess in the first place. So I am not into that at all. Christina sent a $2 super chat. What do you think Pat is up to right now? I have absolutely no idea. It is anyone's guess what Pat is up to. Jeff Walker has sent a $2 Canadian super chat. Pat is the Zodiac Killer. I think Pat's too young to be the Zodiac Killer, right? I don't know that really makes sense. I don't think Pat could be the Zodiac Killer. Let me do a couple of other thank yous. Victoria O'Reilly has signed up at davidpakman.com/membership, and Victoria has not used the coupon code. You have a coupon code available. That coupon code is iVoted17. That coupon code will save you 40% off of membership. But Victoria has opted not to use that coupon code and pay the full price. Of course, both discounted and full price memberships, all appreciated. On the Patreon side, Robert Green has just made an incredibly generous $10 per month pledge at patreon.com/davidpakmanshow. And Robert, I very much appreciate that. And that puts us within striking distance. We are within 5 patrons of reaching 1,900, which was the target I established for today. If we reach 1,900 patrons by the end of the stream, and we've got about 15 minutes left, I will create and announce to you a huge membership discount code for membership. And that is if and only if we, IFF, as we say in the philosophy world, we reach 1,900 patrons, and we're only 5 away. So I say let's just get it over with and do it. We just need 5 $1 donations, and we will be there. We have a $20 super chat from the great Jenny Jesser, who says, "Hi. The comment I had a while back regarding mental health laws got lost. Was wondering your opinion on the idea that involuntary commitment is unconstitutional. My argument is that you're imprisoning someone who has committed no crime. What are your thoughts?" I've read a lot about involuntary commitment to psychiatric facilities. I've not read about the constitutionality. I've read about some of the horrible practices at for-profit psychiatric treatment facilities, but not about the constitutional aspect. So let me research that, Jenny, and see what I come up with. Reflection Eternal 2 has sent a $2 super chat. What are your thoughts on Joe Manchin's recent interview? Didn't see it, and I will bookmark it and check it out. But Joe Manchin, I consider Joe Manchin to be the most conservative of Democratic senators, and I think that is a pretty accurate assessment. I'm curious what he had to say. Demetrios1975 sent a $10 super chat saying, "David, I agree that 2020 is too far away, but do you think it's time for us to move away from the baby boomers and focus on Generation X and millennial candidates?" Okay, so this I will comment on. Right after Donald Trump won the 2016 election, I was very clear in saying that I don't know that it makes sense to run against an old white guy with another old white guy in 2020. Now, does that mean that if Bernie Sanders is the candidate, I'm not going to support Bernie Sanders? No, I'm just not at that point yet. But I do think that you're bringing up something very important, Demetrios, which is being Republican light in any way isn't good. So like half measures on healthcare, just go with the full measure, say we support Medicare for all, and negotiate from there. And I've used this example with other issues. I do think that while I don't believe in choosing candidates based on identity, I think it would be a really good idea for there to be more prominent non-old white guy faces and voices in the among prominent Democrats for sure. Jacob Ball has sent a $5 super chat. Have you listened to Joe Scarborough's album Mystified? No, I have no idea what that is. Joe Scarborough, Mystified. What is that? Mystified by Joe Scarborough, released in 2017. What on earth is this? Joe Scarborough has released a 5-track EP titled Mystified. This is absolutely bizarre. Let me see. I'm going to play a little bit of it. I'm listening to it. I don't know if this is coming through on the mic. Let me skip ahead. Okay. Okay, so is this like electronic music made by Joe Scarborough? I have absolutely no idea what this is. I have absolutely no idea what this is, and it is, it is very, very bizarre. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. Cezi Canales, $5 super chat. Remember to breathe, please. Thank you very much, Ceci. Appreciate that. Garrett North has sent a $10 super chat. David, what do you think about Jimmy Dore? You know, all I've seen of Jimmy Dore, I was on Jimmy Dore's show once years ago when I went out to California before he was part of the Young Turks. All I've seen of Jimmy Dore recently is stuff where he basically says Russia's no big deal. That's not sentiment I agree with. I know that Jimmy Dore is a very controversial figure in my among my audience, but I just don't watch his show. I'm too busy to watch Jimmy Dore's program. But personally, he was very nice to me, very, very nice to me. Although I don't know exactly what his views would be on my thoughts about Russia at this point. I don't know. Okay. Members and patrons continue to pour in. Fabio Lacerda has signed up at davidpakman.com/membership with no coupon code, paying full price. We have a $2 Patreon donation from Louis Motomedy. Now, I have no idea. Let's see if this is the actual former producer of the David Pakman Show, Louis Motomedy. Let's see. He pledges, he is a patron of the David Pakman Show and Dick Masterson. He has left some comments as well. Commented on a post. Gil Kidron, have spoken. You know, I'm looking at the post history of this Patreon user named Louis Motomedy. It doesn't seem to me that it's the real Louis Motomedy. Yeah, I don't know. But hey, listen. Someone using the name Louis Motomedy has made a pledge at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. And for that, we can all be grateful. And David Cardew has also made a pledge of $2 at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. That gets us very close to our target of 1,900 patrons before the end of the night. We've got about 9 minutes left in the stream, and we are at 1,897 patrons. We have 3 patrons to go until we get to 1,900, which will trigger a huge membership discount code for everybody on our live stream. It'll just be our little secret, okay? I won't mention it to anybody else except for you. 3 $1 donations will trigger a huge membership discount code. So let's make it happen. I am recruiting you good people to help make that happen. Jacob Ball has sent a $2 super chat saying midlife crisis. I guess that's a reference to maybe Joe Scarborough's album was reminiscent of a midlife crisis. I don't know. And someone else in the regular chat saying that he sang on the Stephen Colbert Show. Let me look that up again. I want to hear the singings. Joe Scarborough, Mystified. This time I'll try to make it so that you can hear it. Scarborough performs Welcome to the Monkey House from his new EP. This has got to be good. I'm going to cue this up and see if we can listen to it together. That is absolutely wacky and bizarre. Absolutely wacky and bizarre. And I had no idea. I don't know where this has been all my life, quite frankly. Jenny Jesser and Claudia Gaten have each pledged $2 per month on Patreon at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. That gets us, as I prepare to play for you Joe Scarborough singing, that gets us within 1 patron of 1,900, which would be a new high watermark for the David Pakman Show and a bigly, bigly tremendous thing. Okay, let's check out Joe Scarborough. I cannot believe that this is 2017. Joe Scarborough is singing on Stephen Colbert's show, and Donald Trump is president of the United States. Stunning. Stunning. Yeah. Christina, what is your worst customer service experience at CR City? I assume you mean Circuit City. Okay. Here's a special story for you. I'm going to tell you a story, and here's the proposal I make to you. If this story is shocking to you in terms of what I am about to tell you, if it comes as a shock to you, the story I have for you about my days working retail at Circuit City, pledge $1 a month on Patreon, okay? Just, there's no way for me to hold you to it, but let's come to a gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen agreement that if the story I am about to tell you is surprising, funny, or shocking, that you will pledge $1 a month at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. When I worked at Circuit City, I worked in digital cameras and laptops, and I sold that type of stuff. A customer came in and was browsing through the aisles where CDs were sold. Now, for some of our younger viewers, there used to be CDs with music, and you would walk around with a CD player and you would listen to it. I know this might sound crazy to many of our younger viewers, but that was a technology that was relatively prevalent. And I was just sort of standing there with a couple of my coworkers, and there was a guy walking around, maybe 45-year-old guy. It was winter, so he was wearing long pants, and that becomes relevant to this story. And he was sort of browsing through CDs, and at a certain point, if you're eating, by the way, just step away or pause, okay? Because this is not dinner table conversation. Full warning, I am telling you. We're sort of watching this guy, and he looks slightly uncomfortable. And he sort of looks to the left, and he looks to the right and glances over his shoulder. And then he puts his hand in his pants pocket in a way where, you know how if you're wearing long pants, you can sort of lift the bottom of the pant leg by putting your hand in your pocket and sort of pulling up. Guy puts his hand in his pocket, and his hand's kind of moving around like he's jingling keys. And this lifts the bottom of the pant leg, and something rolls out of the pant leg. The guy looks around and pretty quickly gets out of the store. And we walk over there, and this gentleman had defecated on the floor at Circuit City. This is a man who relieved himself, number 2, on the floor at the Holyoke, Massachusetts Circuit City. Must have been 2002, probably. And what I can assure you, and believe me, folks, I've done plenty of cleaning in my day, but never in this circumstance. I was not the person who had to go over. Fortunately, because I didn't work in the music department, so I was not responsible for that. But that was, I actually had lunch 2 weeks ago with one of my old coworkers from Circuit City, and before the food was served, he mentioned to me that he still remembered and thought about that story. So anyway, if that is not a shocking customer service story from the days of retail, I don't know what is. And we are just one patron away from 1900. And if and when we get to that, in the next 3 minutes, I've got 3 minutes before I got to run, I will create and release to you that membership coupon code. That story has got to have shocked someone, right? Klaus M54 has sent a €2 super chat. What about the new July revenue data in the diagram? Okay, so Klaus, I believe you're referring to this. Yeah, I've not updated it, but it's basically been just a straight line since we got that revenue drop on July 1st, but I will update it. I've just been keeping this one image in my laptop for the streams, but I should update it. We basically have drawn out a straight line representing about an 85% drop in revenue. Reduus, or Redues, I don't know how to pronounce this. Redu sent a $2 super chat. 10 steps to shut down Ben Shapiro's arguments. Depends which argument. I would love to talk about where Ben Shapiro is right or wrong. But you gotta, I can't just debunk everything. So if you give me some specific argument, I could talk about that. K Gamer has sent a $2 super chat. Sorry, I missed most of the stream. Love your show. Thank you very much, Gamer. You will be able to watch the entire thing on replay. as soon as it's done. You could even go back right now, I believe. Are we going to reach the target of 1,900 Patreon subscribers, or are we not? We have 2 minutes to go in the stream, and we are 1 patron away from 1,900. It would be a real shame to fall 1 patron short, and it just takes one of you. There are nearly 600 of you watching right now. It will only take 1 donation of even as little as $1 to get us to the target for tonight of 1,900. And David Siloak has done it. He has pledged $2 a month, and I believe, let me refresh and see if that gets us there. I believe that that gets us to 1,900 patrons at patreon.com/DavidPakmanShow, which would be a new high. No, I'm still seeing $18.99. I don't know why. Is this that thing again where it's delayed for me? Let me give it a second while I talk about Tina's super chat and see if for some reason I'm on a slower internet. Okay. Some people saying the poop story is what pushed us over the edge. Tina Howard sent a $10 super chat. Great story. When I was younger, I traveled to Springfield, Massachusetts every year to visit my grandparents. My dad would take me to the carnival at the Holyoke Mall. Yes, indeed. I spent a long, many days. Circuit City was outside the Holyoke Mall at a nearby plaza, which now has replaced the Circuit City with I don't know what. But yeah, that is, I've been to Springfield. In fact, I was in Springfield just last week. Our accountant is in that area. Okay, we have now reached the threshold of 1,900 patrons. In fact, I believe we are at 1,901, according to what people are telling me in the super chat. So I will create and release a coupon code that will allow you to get a 59. I'm not going 60 because that needs to be a much bigger thing. A 59% discount off of the membership of your choice at davidpakman.com/membership. I believe that the coupon code today, because of what's going on with North Korea, should be related to North Korea, but it should also be related to Donald Trump. What about Kim Jong-Donnie? Kim Jong-Donnie. That is going to be the coupon code. I will put it here in the description. Coupon code Kim Jong-Donnie. And that will save you 59% off of your membership. And I believe that it did not go through yet. Let me see if that coupon code is live. It just can take a second here. And that will be, I believe, a huge and major thing. Kim, let's see, is that coupon code live? Kim Jong-Donnie. I'm actually not seeing it. Try again. I think our website glitched, and I apologize for that to everybody. It really shouldn't be happening. Okay, so we got 59% discount, and the coupon code is Kim Jong-Donnie. Let's see if I can put that live. I don't know why that glitched. That's not good. Not good. Okay, it is now live. Kim Jong-Donnie will save you 59% off of the membership of your choice. We've got one more super chat here that I want to deal with. Jacob Ball, $5. David, what do you think of the Google memo and its author's subsequent firing? What I think is in a YouTube video that I released at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I won't redo the entire story, but it is there. People already furious with my thoughts about that. All right, that's going to do it for this live stream. Thanks to everybody who joined me. I very much appreciate it. Use the coupon code, save 59%. I will do one more stream before David Pakman Show summer vacation begins.